Hi everyone. So today we're going to be doing another text structure and learning about not only how to identify them, but how to take notes when you see that it is a sequencing text structure. So sequencing is going to be our focus for today. So let's take a look at a sequencing text together. All right, so as you guys know, we've been doing our unit of study of nonfiction, reading the weather, reading the world. And today's focus is learning about the structure of sequencing. So our teaching point is, I can learn from my nonfiction text by identifying the text structure sequencing. So why might an author write a sequencing chronological order is another word for it, or order of events, things like that? Why would someone want to write a text structure like that? Could be maybe they want to give instructions for something step by step. First do this, then do that. So even instructions on how to play a game or how to make a recipe, that structure is sequencing, which is pretty cool. Another way is if they're writing history, if they're writing events from history in order of like a timeline, it might give you years. So like first in 1902, this happened, and then in 1930, this happened. So order events could also be years. But today we're going to be looking at a text. It's almost kind of storytelling, but it's kind of a true story for somebody, and the events are in order. So we're going to look and see, can we find some signal words that tell us it's a sequencing text? So some signal words might be like first, second, third, then, next, before, after, finally, following. Any of those words would tell you that that's probably a sequencing text structure. So a tip to think about, you should ask yourself, is this event taking place over time? So something happens and then something else happens next. And then after that, something happens. So there's an order to it, chronological order. So you should look for steps or references to time, such as dates. So if there's ever a date or a year, that's definitely also helpful. All right, so let's take a look at this text that is sequencing. So let's see, it says, oh, and also keep in mind while I'm reading, think about what is making this text structure sequencing. After begging my parents to get a dog for weeks, my dad woke me up early one Saturday morning. He wouldn't tell me where we were going as he drove over 30 minutes into the country. Finally, he asked, "What color lab puppy did you say you wanted?" Shocked and thrilled, I chose a black lab puppy and named him Buck. Then we went to the pet store and picked out a collar, leash, and some puppy food. When we got home, I played with Buck for hours. So there's definitely an order here. It's almost like how she started the day, waking up, right, to how she went through a series of her day until she went home to play with her new puppy. So how can we tell that this is a sequencing text? There might have been some keywords or signal words that you heard me read. So let's take a look at how I annotated this text. I highlighted in blue some signal words. So when you see words like after, finally, then, it's not always, but most of the time it could be a sequencing text, especially if you're seeing times of day. So like here it said she woke up early one Saturday morning, and then they drove over 30 minutes, and then he asked her what kind of puppy she wanted, and then she got the puppy, and then they went to the pet store to get supplies, and lastly they finally went home to play. So see how there's like an order, it's not all mixed up. She's not starting with playing and then then she's waking up. Like there's an order to it. So that's important for sequencing, beginning to end. Okay, so now how would we take notes for a sequencing text? So here's a graphic organizer. that we're going to complete together to take notes for that text. And there's always an order. So there's a box and then an arrow that leads to that, that leads to that, that leads to that. So it depends on the text. I only have 4 boxes for this one, but some of them have more if there's more than 4 things listed. And this one, we probably could have done more than 4 boxes, but I'm going to try to keep it simple and only do 4 boxes. So let's try this out, how we would take notes. So the first thing that happened is what would go in that first box that says first. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the text and see what happened first in this text. So it says that she had been begging for her parents to get a dog for weeks. And then finally her dad does wake her up one Saturday morning. So that's the first thing that happened, is that her dad woke her up one Saturday morning. So I'm going to go to first and plop that there. And remember, when we're note taking, we don't have to worry too much about complete sentences, so I'll just leave that kind of how it is. All right, so what happened after she woke up? Dad drove over 30 minutes into the country. And while they're doing that, he's asking her what kind of puppy that she wanted. So I'm just going to take all of that and plop that into next. Drove over 30 minutes into the country and asked, I'm going to take out some of that. Again, it's notes. We don't want it to be super long. And asked what color puppy. So quick note, short and sweet. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. All right, what happened after that? After that, it says, I chose a black lab puppy and named it Buck. So I'll take that and put it in the next box. Chose a black puppy, named it Buck. And then what did they do after that? They went to a pet store to pick out a collar leash and some puppy food. So we'll highlight that. That comes after it. Yes, I wish I had 5 boxes. So what I'll do is I'll just stick that in here. And then in that last box, we'll say the last thing that they did was played with Buck for hours, was the last thing. All right, so when you're taking notes on sequencing text structure, you want to keep the events that happened in order from first to last and try not to mix things up. There's a certain order. So in this text, it was kind of the events throughout someone's day. But again, this could be a text about like a recipe, steps of a recipe. It could be instructions of how to install something. It could even be a historical piece of a timeline or a biography about a certain person of their life. So there's different types of text structure or text you might see for a sequencing text structure. Okay, so that's how you take notes on sequencing or chronological order. So today, you're going to be doing your activity to practice this by doing the assignment. Read the text that is sequencing text structure, and you're going to complete the graphic organizer just like we did today. And you're going to continue reading your nonfiction book for your 30 minutes of independent reading and thinking about how you can identify that the structure is sequencing. What are those key words that you're hearing that you know that's probably sequencing, and are things in order from beginning to end that it makes it obvious that it's a sequencing text structure. So good luck on your assignment, and we'll do the next text structure next time.